I'm Craig Brailsford, and welcome to another episode of Small Stocks, Big Money. For those of you new to the show, RedChip is an investor relations, media, and research firm focused on emerging growth companies. Our unique platform combines global multimedia with traditional investor relations, reaching investors around the world. Now, today's show features interviews with executives of two public companies. First up is Connect Biopharma Holdings. Connect Biopharma is a clinical stage biotechnology company advancing innovative therapeutics designed to transform the treatment landscape for inflammatory diseases driven by T-cell dysfunction. The company's lead candidate, rademikibart, is a next-generation, highly differentiated monoclonal antibody targeting interleukin-4 receptor alpha, with potential applications in asthma and chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, or COPD. These markets collectively represent multi-billion-dollar commercial opportunities. Backed by robust clinical data from a global phase 2 study demonstrating superior efficacy, rapid onset of action, and a favorable safety profile, Connect is strategically positioned to enter clinical trials targeting acute exacerbations in respiratory diseases, an area of significant unmet medical need. We'll learn more when we speak with the CEO later in the show. Up next is ASP Isotopes. ASP Isotopes is an advanced materials company dedicated to the development of technology and processes to produce isotopes for use in various industries. The company employs proprietary technology, the aerodynamic separation process, to produce and commercialize highly enriched isotopes for the healthcare and technology industries. The company also plans to enrich isotopes for the nuclear energy sector using quantum enrichment technology that the company is developing. We'll learn more when we speak with the CEO later in the show. Before we dive into our first interview, let's take a moment to recognize some of RedChip's top performers in 2024. Among them, RedCat, RCAT, up an incredible 1,293% in 2024. Alliance Entertainment, soaring by 842%. Gorilla Technology, which gained 250%. And Nova Minerals, up 149%. These companies have demonstrated the immense potential of the small cap market. Before we move forward, let's take a look at RedChat, a revolutionary AI chatbot for small cap stock analysis.
For 32 years, RedChip has been discovering tomorrow's blue chips today, with early research on Starbucks, Celsius, Daktronics, Winnebago, and more. Now we bring you RedChat, an innovative AI solution which gives you answers in seconds on over 2,000 small cap stocks listed on the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ. Visit redchip.com today and use RedChat, your AI small cap assistant. RedChat.
Now, let's move on to our quote of the week. It comes from the book, Small Stocks, Big Money. Work hard, be a long-term thinker, develop tenacity, and remember, nothing happens without taking calculated risks. This quote comes from Phil Sassour of Phoenix Group, and it is featured in Chapter 9 of Small Stocks, Big Money, a book of exclusive interviews with some of the biggest players in the microcap space. Get a digital copy on Amazon today for just $18. Now, let's get started with our first interview today with Connect Biopharma Holdings. Hello, we're excited to be here with Dr. Barry Court, the Chief Executive Officer of Connect Biopharma. Barry, thanks for being with us.
My pleasure, thank you.
Connect Biopharma focused on developing next-generation treatments for inflammatory diseases. What sets your company apart?
Well, we are very excited to be developing a next generation IL-4 antibody, which basically is a next generation Dupixent, a highly successful biologic that we believe that we can improve upon and provide significant benefit to patients.
Now, your lead drug candidate, rademikibart, has potential worldwide peak sales of more than $5 billion, and it has shown strong potential in treating asthma and COPD. What makes it a game changer, Barry?
Well, every biologic that's been developed for asthma and COPD has focused solely on treating chronic disease. We have the opportunity, because of extremely rapid onset of effect of rademikibart, to also target acute exacerbations, so that acute attack of asthma or COPD that sends millions of patients to the ER every year. There hasn't been a new drug developed for over 20 years, and our product is ideally suited for these patients.
Now, as you said, you're targeting acute exacerbations. In other words, what's sending these sufferers of asthma and COPD to the emergency room. This is an area where existing biologics like Dupixent are not even approved. So how significant is the unmet need?
Well, as I mentioned, for asthma, about 1 million patients a year go to the emergency room. For COPD, it's over 1.3 million patients. So it's a huge market opportunity, and very large numbers of patients are suffering from these very significant exacerbations. And right now, as I said, the treatment is the same thing they would have received 20 years ago. And the opportunity to dramatically improve the outcome for these patients is really what drives us.
Now, you've recently reported top-line data from a phase 2b clinical trial for rademikibart. What can you tell us about the results, Barry? And given the encouraging data, what is the timeline for your upcoming phase 2 studies in acute asthma and COPD?
Yeah, well, thank you. A great question. We recently have published the phase 2 data of using rademikibart for chronic asthma, demonstrated excellent benefit in terms of reduction of exacerbations, and particularly very exciting data on improved airway function. That's the amount of air that goes in and out of the lungs. And we showed a very dramatic improvement. But what was unique about the results is that that improvement started within 24 hours of dosing. That gives us the opportunity to start treating patients very early and to see a benefit in these patients suffering from acute exacerbations. The other thing that really we find exciting is that the studies necessary to evaluate the drug in acute exacerbations are relatively inexpensive and very fast when you compare them to kind of standard asthma and COPD trials. So these studies should be starting up in the next few months, and we anticipate data in the first half of next year, which is extremely fast when it comes to these kinds of patients.
Now, Barry, you're certainly speaking from experience when it comes to taking drugs to market. You've brought no less than 9 to market. Also, you've brought a new management team made up of colleagues from your previous successful ventures. And finally, Connect Biopharma has also relocated to San Diego. Tell us why all those changes are significant.
Well, Connect was originally a Chinese-based biotech with some great scientists that obviously developed some very exciting technology. But where the board felt what we needed was a more experienced development team and a more experienced team in terms of running a biotech company with greater connections to the financial community. As you noted, I have, over the course of my career, taken 9 drugs to the US market, have run multiple biotechnology companies, have sold biotechnology companies to large pharma, and it seemed like a perfect match of my skill set and the skill set of my team from prior companies to kind of completely restructure the organization, start to reduce the footprint in China, and move those positions that we still needed to San Diego.
Turning now to finances, Barry. Your company has $93.7 million in cash reserves. That is enough funding to get you into 2027. How does this strong financial position support your growth and clinical pipeline, and what milestones should investors be watching for over the next, say, year or 24 months?
Yeah, absolutely. A critical component of the company's story is that we have enough cash to run the two studies we're about to initiate, create very significant value for our product and the company, and still have a cash runway into 2027. So that lets us execute on the clinical program and still have a runway to be able to find a partner after the data is available.
And finally, Barry, what is the core value proposition of Connect Bio? In other words, why should investors take an interest right now?
Well, for the same reason that I decided to join the company, we believe that this is a highly valuable asset that we're developing. It's incredibly undervalued today in terms of the financial markets. A great deal of that has to do with really lack of awareness. The clinical data are excellent, but the prior management team, didn't do maybe the best job of getting that story out to investors. And now with a repositioning to be more US centric, we have the opportunity of getting the story out to US-based healthcare funds and retail investors in the United States, which I believe will resonate very well with this highly undervalued but incredibly important asset.
I also think it's going to resonate, Barry. Thanks for being with us today.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Now, to get more information on Connect Biopharma Holdings, visit cntbinfo.com. You'll see research reports, fact sheets, presentations, and the latest videos. It's all free, and you can even subscribe to email alerts to stay on top of the latest news. You can also call 1-800-RedChip to speak to a specialist if you have any questions. We also have a free weekly newsletter you can subscribe to at redchip.com, featuring emerging growth companies like Connect Biopharma. Watch this show again and explore hundreds of small cap stock videos on RedChip's YouTube channel. Also, go to our website and sign up on our events page for the webinar series. We have webinars every week, several a week, in which we feature small public companies, mostly client companies, and you'll hear straight from the CEO, and you'll be able to ask questions after that. Again, visit redchip.com and subscribe today. In addition to our newsletter, you can also order your copy of Small Stocks, Big Money, a book written by RedChip's CEO, featuring interviews with some of the biggest players in the microcap space. Order your copy on Amazon today for just $18. Before we move forward, let's take a look at RedChat, a revolutionary AI chatbot for small cap stock analysis.
For 32 years, RedChip has been discovering tomorrow's blue chips today with early research on Starbucks, Celsius, Daktronics, Winnebago, and more. Now we bring you RedChat, an innovative AI solution which gives you answers in seconds on over 2,000 small cap stocks listed on the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ. Visit redchip.com today and use RedChat, your AI small cap assistant. RedChat.
Now, let's move on to our next interview today with ASP Isotopes. Hello, today we have Paul Mann, CEO of ASP Isotopes, trading on the NASDAQ under the ticker ASPI. Paul, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Craig. Great to be back.
ASP Isotopes is leading innovation in isotope enrichment with proprietary technology. Can you share the vision behind the company and what makes your approach unique in the market?
We founded the company about 3.5-4 years ago with the idea that the world was in, isotopes have always been in a supply side shortage, a challenging supply chain, and there were lots of new uses for isotopes. And we found a group of South African scientists who had developed many different ways to enrich isotopes. So we basically acquired them out of business rescue We funded the company with a lot of capital over the last couple of years, and we've built 3 manufacturing plants to produce isotopes the world needs in the future to enable technologies such as quantum computing, artificial intelligence, next generation medicines, and nuclear energy.
Paul, ASP Isotopes recently began commercial production of enriched carbon-14. Can you elaborate on the significance of this milestone and its expected impact on your revenue growth?
Yes, so we started our carbon-14 plant up recently. We actually finished the construction of it about a year ago, but our feedstock, which is a very specialized feedstock, was delayed in its shipment to us from Canada. So carbon-14 is used in the production of new drugs and agrochemicals. And again, there's always been a supply side shortage of this isotope. And so it's great for us now to be able to start this plant up and start enriching carbon-14 for the market. It's our first isotope plant we started up, and the first batch should take about 120 days to run. And hopefully that means we'll be selling the product around the middle of the year. We've signed a take-or-pay contract with a Canadian customer for a minimum of $2.5 million a year, but they could take more than that, we'll see. But right now, take-or-pay minimum is $2.5 million a year.
Your partnership with TerraPower, founded by Bill Gates, is a major validation of the capabilities of ASP Isotopes. What does this collaboration mean for the company, and what are the next steps in developing the HALEU production facility?
So we've actually signed 2 MOUs with American-based SMR, small modular reactor companies, one of which is TerraPower, the other we haven't disclosed. And what I think it suggests is that TerraPower see us as being able to get HALEU to the market sooner than anyone else. And if we wanted to build a HALEU plant in the United States, it'd probably take us 10 years just to get the permit to build that facility. South Africa is very unique in that it has a location which used to enrich uranium, has a nuclear reactor on the site, and we have access to that site in order to enrich uranium there. So this is a major milestone for our company. HALEU is the biggest commercial opportunity we have in our portfolio by a long shot. And in terms of the next steps of developing a HALEU production facility, we need to go through the licensing process and the regulatory process, and then we'll start to build the plant. But our plants are pretty quick to build, so hopefully we'll have HALEU this decade.
You've secured contracts for silicon-28, which is critical for quantum computing and advanced semiconductors. Can you explain how ASP Isotopes is positioned to capitalize on that growing market?
Yes, so silicon-28 is a very unique isotope in that it can enable next generation semiconductors. Semiconductors are expected to be thousands of fold faster if you use silicon-28. And there aren't really many producers of enriched silicon-28, just Rosatom, which is the Russian government, and ourselves. So there's a lot of interest in this from semiconductor companies, industrial gas companies, and quantum computing companies. So we started that plant up last week. It's starting to do commercial production. We'd expect to supply our first product deliveries during the second quarter. But longer term, this could be a really large opportunity for us if quantum computing and advanced semiconductors and AI take off in the way analysts think it will.
Paul, ASP Isotopes has raised significant capital and maintains a strong cash position. How does this financial strength support your expansion and commercialization efforts?
Yes, we do maintain a very strong cash position. We finished last year with over $60 million of cash on our balance sheet, and we need that capital to build additional plants, for things like germanium, gadolinium, nickel-64, and obviously a HALEU plant as well. So having this financial strength helps us a lot. We also have customers who are willing to pay for plants as well. And so again, that helps our commercialization efforts as well.
Paul, what milestones should investors be expecting in 2025?
Well, the most important milestones is for us starting up our 3 plants and turning them into producing commercial products. So all 3 plants have started up and they're in the process of enriching isotopes. And we'd expect to supply product to the market from those during the course of this year. And if we can do that, that should allow the company to get to cash flow break even during the second half of the year, and then start to drive significant amounts of free cash flow and build new plants. So there's a lot of milestones this year, mainly in terms of starting new plants up and starting to build more plants for the future.
Final question, Paul. What's the essential value proposition? Why should an investor take an interest in ASP Isotopes right now?
Well, ASP Isotopes is solving a number of problems that the world needs to solve in order to enable future technologies such as quantum computing, such as advanced semiconductors, such as nuclear power, green nuclear power, and medical isotopes to cure diseases like cancer. So we're developing products to enable those technologies. And if we're successful in doing that, we should be able to generate a significant amount of return for our investors. And so we think that's the main value proposition.
Paul, it's a great story. We love helping you tell it. Thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for your interest, Craig. It's great to see you again.
To get more information on ASP Isotopes, visit aspiinfo.com. You'll see research reports, fact sheets, presentations, and the latest videos. It's all free, and you can even subscribe to email alerts to stay on top of the latest news. You can also call 1-800-RedChip to speak to a specialist if you have any questions. We also have a free weekly newsletter you can subscribe to at redchip.com, featuring emerging growth companies like ASP Isotopes. Watch this show again and explore hundreds of small cap stock videos on RedChip's YouTube channel. Also, go to our website and sign up on our events page for the webinar series. We have webinars every week, several a week, in which we feature small public companies, mostly our client companies, and you'll hear straight from the CEO, and you'll be able to ask questions after that. Again, visit redchip.com and subscribe today. In addition to our newsletter, you can order Small Stocks, Big Money. That is a book written by RedChip CEO, featuring interviews with some of the biggest players in the microcap space. Get a digital copy on Amazon for $18. Now, let's recap the companies featured today. First, you met Connect Biopharma Holdings, CNTB, on the NASDAQ. Connect Biopharma is a clinical stage biotechnology company advancing innovative therapeutics designed to transform the treatment landscape for inflammatory diseases driven by T-cell dysfunction. The company's lead candidate, rademikibart, is a next-generation, highly differentiated monoclonal antibody targeting interleukin-4 receptor alpha, IL-4RA, with potential applications in asthma and chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, or COPD. These markets collectively represent multi-billion-dollar commercial opportunities. Backed by robust clinical data from a global phase 2 study demonstrating superior efficacy, rapid onset of action, and a favorable safety profile, Connect is strategically positioned to enter clinical trials targeting acute exacerbations in respiratory diseases, an area of significant unmet medical need. Learn more at www.cntbinfo.com. Then you met ASP Isotopes, ASPI, on the NASDAQ. ASP Isotopes is an advanced materials company dedicated to the development of technology and processes to produce isotopes for use in various industries. The company employs proprietary technology, the aerodynamic separation process, to produce and commercialize highly enriched isotopes for the healthcare and technology industries. The company also plans to enrich isotopes for the nuclear energy sector using quantum enrichment technology that the company is developing. Learn more at www.aspiinfo.com. Don't forget to check out our stocks page. It is the biggest small cap stock portal in the industry. Every company listed on the NASDAQ or New York Stock Exchange with market caps of $2 billion and less. And it's categorized by industries. Watch this show again and explore hundreds of small cap stock videos on RedChip's YouTube channel. And be sure to sign up for our weekly newsletter and learn about a lot of small cap companies. Also, go to our website and sign up on our events page for the webinar series. We have webinars every week, several a week, in which we feature small public companies, mostly client companies, and you'll hear straight from the CEO, and you'll be able to ask questions after that. Again, if you have any questions about any of our public companies featured on today's show, call us at 1-800-RedChip or email us at info@redchip.com. In closing, remember, while small caps can provide significant gains, you must be prepared for the downside. Small cap stocks are among the most volatile of asset classes. Some of the companies featured on this show are RedChip client companies, and we may own stock in these companies, so please, always read our disclosures at redchip.com. Thanks for being with us today. We'll see you next week with some new, exciting, emerging growth companies.
For 32 years, RedChip has been discovering tomorrow's blue chips today with early research on Starbucks, Celsius, Daktronics, Winnebago, and more. Now we bring you RedChat, an innovative AI solution which gives you answers in seconds on over 2,000 small-cap stocks listed on the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ. Visit redchip.com today and use RedChat, your AI small-cap assistant. RedChat.
The global blood glucose monitoring device market size is $14.5 billion and growing. More than 500 million people are living with diabetes. Enter Trinity Biotech, symbol TRIB, on the NASDAQ, a global diagnostics company, preparing to commercialize an industry-changing continuous glucose monitoring device based on its European-approved technology in discussions with a global pharma giant for large-scale global markets. Trinity Bio, stock symbol TRIB.
The global breast cancer drug market size was valued at nearly $33 billion in 2023, growing at 9% annually. Now meet Atossa Therapeutics, a NASDAQ company, symbol ATOS, rapidly pursuing an FDA-approved pathway for metastatic breast cancer with an innovative treatment that could forever change the way we treat a disease that affects 1 in 8 women. $71 million in cash and no debt. Atossa Therapeutics, NASDAQ ATOS.